quite attractive man.
We are having a lot of fun here, my friend Mayapur.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, welcome everybody. Today we have a very, very special guest who is my paesano from Italy, Raghunath Das. Today is a beautiful day in Mayapur. There is a beautiful sunshine, nice weather. It's becoming warmer.
Perfect weather.
And I think, I feel like there's some magic in Mayapur, which I cannot express, I cannot comprehend, I cannot understand. But I know
for sure
that there is something magic in this place. Of course, we have the Ganges.
Yeah.
Of course, we have the biggest temple in the world that's been built. Of course, we have devotees from all over the world. Of course, we have the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And somehow we are here. The Lord has positioned us here in Mayapur, in this beautiful land, Goradesh, where from here the whole world will be influenced. And the holy name will be spread. So today I was telling you, we have a very, very special guest, Raghunath Das, who was born in New York in 1/11/1966.
Yep.
And he was a famous musician. He had a band called Youth of Today. They didn't drink, they didn't smoke, they didn't do anything. They were pretty straight, good guy. But then became a little bad, maybe. They went, no, Shelter was also good.
No, Shelter was next level. We were chanting 16 rounds.
Wow.
Before I was a devotee,
yes,
we were just in a band. It was a punk band. It was a hardcore punk band.
Oh, this guy with the funny hair and all these things?
Yeah, it was sort of like we were a scene within a scene. So the punk and hardcore music scene was crazy and wild and intoxicated, but we started playing that same type of music, but we just did not drink, we did not smoke, we did not take drugs, and we got into vegetarianism. And that was our message. That was the band's message. So it was sort of a bubble within a bubble, because in the 80s, the only type of music out there was just corporate arena or rock and roll.
Right.
And so the punk scene was like an alternative of that, and we were sort of an alternative to that alternative. And we didn't realize it, but it spread into a huge numbers all over the world. Actually, we've toured all over the world. But I got sick of doing it because I felt I was sort of on a spiritual journey from the time I started the band. Okay. And the spiritual journey led me to Bhakti Yoga.
Amazing.
Still on a spiritual journey. And so when I was 22, I joined the temple. It's funny because now we say this term, when did you join? Like you asked me, when did I join? What year did you join? Yeah. But it's sort of, that term has become sort of obsolete with all the people that we reach nowadays in what we do. Is like no one joins. No, people don't join. They just become devotees. There is no joining, officially joining.
Okay, we can say, when did you transform yourself?
When did you transform? You got to think of some sexy name to call it.
Were you always interested in something spiritual? I remember when I was a child, I used to look at the star and say, there must be something superior to what I understand. Because how is it possible when you ask somebody, what are the stars? Oh, they're just there,
Me too. I always felt that too.
Yeah.
I grew up Catholic.
Yeah, me too. And when I asked my grandfather, okay, what about death? Yeah, come on, take us some ice cream and go and play, man. Don't think about this, that now. Right?
Yeah.
So there was something.
My father was religious. We grew up chanting rosaries during Lent. Before Easter, and
going to the church, and
then I even joined a Christian club. Even when I was in the punk scene, I joined a Christian club. Amazing, because I went to college, university for like a year, and in that club, I had the foresight to know that I'm going to go to the university now. What do people do at the university? Everybody gets drunk. Everybody, just screws around. No one's there for learning. Very few people, at least in America, very few people are there to educate. Their parents send them there.
Hoping.
Hoping. But truthfully, all I wanted to do was music. And the basis of our music was clean living. Karma, spiritual principles. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to join a Christian club because I think they're good people, and that will give me good company. Yeah. And so in thinking like that, I started to read the Bible, and we did good things. We'd go to the hospital when people were sick and dying, and we'd sing Christmas carols to them. Truthfully, we would feed the hungry people, the homeless people, but because I was vegetarian, I wouldn't feed them meat, so I didn't do that. But I liked the idea of just being a better person.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, I would go to New York City, because that's where all my friends were in the band. We started playing in New York City a lot. And I would go to these spiritual bookstores, and I would read books. My favorite thing to do when I was 18, 19 was like read spiritual books.
Wow.
Metaphysical books, books on yoga, books on, Tibetan Book of the Dead, Bhagavad Gita, esoteric writings, Christ consciousness. And then one of the books I found was this really cool Buddhist book called the Dhammapada. And it had this whole chapter on compassion, a chapter on mindfulness, a chapter on the way to treat other people. And I thought, this is such a good book. It's everything I'm reading in the Bible. Wait till I tell my Christian friends about this. They're going to love it. And so I brought that book to my next Christian meeting, and everybody freaked out on me. I was like, and it made me realize that there's two types of way to understand the Bible. One is a very ecumenical, broad way to understand spiritual life, and one way where this is exclusive, everybody else is going to hell. And I said, you know what? We are reading two different books. I don't read the Bible like this. I can find commonalities in other faith and other teachings, because ultimately truth is truth, and there's no one savior, anybody who saves me from material life is a savior.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're an alcoholic and you get into the 12-step program, the 12 steps is your savior.
Absolutely.
So it's one of these things. God is unlimited. Of course God can send unlimited messengers. So I just didn't buy it, and it made me really sort of repulse of that form of Christianity, although I still read the Bible. But that sort of perpetuated me on my spiritual journey. And that was sort of like the threshold for my spiritual, path.
But one interesting question is that because you were saying you were on the age of the punk rocks season, or the people that like that, how these people will receive the message from your song, being vegetarian, not drug, not this, not that? Because when I'm let's say 10 years older than you, so I saw the Pink Floyd and all these other people. We were in the rock at that time.
Sure.
So by the time the punk rock came, we were out of the scene, and we came in India, and we become body. But
they didn't like it. They didn't like it because whenever you're suggesting somebody control your senses, control your mind, control your habits, control your tongue, your belly, your genitals, whenever you tell a person like that, you're suppressing me, you're stopping me. Who do you think you are? This is the punk scene. We can do whatever we want. And so my answer was, well, if you can do whatever I want, I can say whatever I want. It's punks, so we can say this too.
That's a good one.
And the interesting thing is, when you really stand firm in your convictions of who you are and that what you're doing is a good thing, you're always going to get people who come after you.
Yeah, of course.
And you'll always get people who really look up to you. And so I didn't expect that. I just felt like this was my thing, and this is what we're going to talk about. But what happened was it developed into a very, very popular scene, and there's a lot of people, a lot of teenagers that had that same sentiment. You know what? I like this music, but I'm not going to opt in to be a drug addict, an alcoholic, sleep on the streets, get into drunken fights.
Just because.
I don't have to opt into that. So I think it gave permission for people to sort of be vulnerable and have a positive attitude on life. And there was a few other bands that we sort of like connected with in the same way, and it became sort of a movement.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
It was a good thing, but ultimately, after a few years of doing it, it didn't really satisfy my heart, and that drove me more and more into my spiritual life.
Wonderful. And tell me, how was your first meeting the devotee, or you find some book, or you got prashana? What was the first, you come to a road where it's divided into two, and say, okay, this is what happened. Somebody sent this to me, and I had to understand this deeply, and I had to do something about this, right?
Well, that's a good question, and I will say all of this is told in my. I wrote an autobiography.
Yes.
It's coming out on April 1st. It's available on Amazon. It's available as an audiobook. It's being released by Mandala, the same people that put out Raghunath Swami's book.
Wonderful.
But I'll tell you the story in brief.
Yes.
There was a gang, street gang of teenagers in New York City at the time who were basically homeless kids. And
Homeless.
They were homeless and violent.
Whoa.
And heavy into smoking pot and things like that. I didn't drink and I didn't smoke. I was from a good family. But these guys would get fed on the streets by the Hare Krishnas. And they would eat. And somehow they all got into Krishna. They didn't 100% change their habits.
But something.
But
happened.
they were into it and they professed the Bhagavad Gita. Now you got to understand, this is 85, 86, 87. There was not an information age. There were no cell phones. There was not internet. I didn't know what a Hare Krishna was. I didn't know what a Hindu monk. I didn't know what a Hindu was, practically. I grew up in a school. There were practically no Indians in America back then. And so it was very foreign to see Hare Krishna, white people wearing Indian robes. It just looked peculiar. And to see this tough street gang into this, I was like, it was really shocking. And one of them, the leader of the gang, befriended me.
What's his name?
His name was Harley Flanagan. He's still alive, Harley Flanagan. And he was an incredible musician. And he was sort of famous. He's a year younger than me, but he was actually quite famous. He was in a band called the Cro-Mags.
Oh, the Cro-Mags.
Yeah, and they were quite influential. He was incredibly charismatic, and he used to preach to me about the Bhagavad Gita. And part of me was thinking, well, you speak like Gandhi, but you're as violent as like Al Capone. I don't understand how these two marry together. But at that time in my life, I was open to anything. I'll be open to anything except what this guy's into, because I felt like these guys are crazy. These guys are crazy. There must be anything. So I got into Buddhism. I got into every other spiritual yoga group except Krishna consciousness and bhakti, because they were the only people I know. Even though the things he said made sense. But then you start to meet people who are actually strict in how they follow. And I think that's sort of impressive when you see people who've actually radically changed their life and experience some higher pleasure from practicing the principles of bhakti. And bhakti immediately releases you from material distress. Absolutely. It just happens. And it gives you a type of internal joy. It just happens. And you start to transform your life, and that just happens. And so then everything they told me previously, that made more and more sense. It had a little bit more weight to it. So that took a few years in the process. And in that process, my father had died. And when my father died, that was a very jarring, sort of earth-shattering time for me, when I came to this point to realize, oh, there's nothing safe here. There is no safety. There is no longevity. What's the point of being healthy and fit and positive? All my theories were like, we're all going to die. We are all going to die. And I became like an existentialist for about 3 days. But I had faith that there were spiritual people that knew more than me. And that really accelerated my spiritual journey. And so at that point, it was 1988. When my father left his body, I decided, okay, I'm leaving this whole music scene behind, and I'm going to go to Vrindavan, because I had studied the Bhagavad Gita at this point, and I had faith in I had faith in the teachings of India. Wasn't fully committed to Krishna Bhakti, but I said, these guys are pretty cool. I'm going to go check out their temple in India. And I lived there for a while.
Krishna Balaram Temple?
Krishna Balaram Temple.
88 already was finished.
In 88,
beautiful.
Yeah. And
not too many devotees at the time, maybe.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And then I went to
It was very mellow. Just go behind the temple, and there's a beautiful tamal tree.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
There was sand of the Jalangi.
Even the MVT
soft.
Wasn't there.
Yeah,
nothing was there.
Beautiful.
Nothing. It was a special time to be. I'm nice. Fortunate that I was impelled to go, and just traveling in India. Traveling in India without a credit card. Didn't have credit cards. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have internet. The whole thing was like quite a journey. And my band was really popular at the time, and they thought I was crazy. Why would you quit the band when we finally got popular?
Huh.
But for me at that point, I was only 22 years old, but I was like, I am over this completely. There's nothing else I want here.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
so,
now
yeah.
the other next things is this. Of course, I want to tell everybody that you are now doing Wisdom of the Sages, which is very successful podcast for the last 3 years. I've been listening from day one. I'm one of the outsider. What do you call them?
Others. The others.
I'm one of the others.
The others means we don't see you because we do it live on Zoom with about 100 people every day.
I know.
But then we put it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and these other platforms. And then there's about 15,000 people a day that listen to the Bhagavatam. So the people that listen live, we call them Zoomers.
I know.
And you, my friend, are an other.
I'm the other.
An Italian paisan other.
And I really enjoy it, I should tell
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
every day it's inspiring because according to me, you are decoding the Bhagavatam. Means if you read the Bhagavatam by yourself, some stuff you can understand, some stuff you can think, okay, this is mythology. Indra cut the wing of the mountain. There's weird stuff inside there. But you're decoding that. You're making people understand. People who don't know anything about spirituality, people who don't know anything about Hare Krishna, they don't need to know. People who don't know anything about anything. And so, because like you said, the truth is the truth. Yeah. It cannot be changed.
Sure.
So, the way you are presenting with Kastuba, who is a fantastic...
He's a great pundit, huh?
Great pundit and very sober person, and you're a bubbly person, so you go yin-yang.
Bubbly is very kind and gracious, thank you.
I love the show. And then you meet Joe Rogan. Yeah. I saw that one. It was really nice. You were a little tense. Of course, Joe Rogan is a big friend, but he's a big guy. He's the guy who started a lot of
it was a little. I never get nervous in front of anybody, but with Joe Rogan, who I've known for 20 years, I was nervous because, if you teach to a bunch of yoga students, I know how to speak. When you teach to a bunch of, new devotees, I know how to speak. When you teach to a bunch of non-devotees, I know how to speak. You teach the Joe Rogan's audience, it's so wide.
There's so much.
It's so wide. It's like, who do I address? Who am I speaking to?
How can you tell everybody this?
So anyway,
I was
a little nervous, truthfully.
But that's not. Again, it's understandable. But tell me how you started the Wisdom of the Sages. Whose idea it was? How you figure out this?
Well, Mara from Wisdom of the Sages. She was one of my yoga students.
Okay.
I taught yoga internationally also. Before Wisdom of the Sages and after the band.
You do 300, 500.
Yeah, I did all this stuff. I still do it.
It's a good introduction to people.
It is good. Now mainly I speak and teach.
Of course.
But that's mainly what I did for the last 10 years.
So Mara.
Yeah, so Mara and another, I was also training a brahmachari.
Okay.
And we live on a farm project, with my family.
Yeah.
It's a small yoga retreat center. We have bhakti retreats.
What do you call it?
It's called Super Soul Farm.
Super Soul Farm.
Yeah.
Located in
upstate New York, near the Berkshires, near the Massachusetts border. Okay. It's nice. It's pretty. Simple, small, family programs. Nothing major, but we have good retreats there. So anyway, Mara and this brahmachari, I would teach at 5 a.m. just sacred literature. Then one year we decided, we're going to start doing it on Zoom. This was 2019. So every day, and we're going to go through the whole Bhagavatam. And so we started going through the Bhagavatam. And because I traveled so much, and I had yoga students in different cities all around America and Europe, I said, I put it out to my mailing list, I'm going to teach every morning at 5 a.m. So if you want to get on, I'll have Mara, she was like my assistant, send out a link for everybody. And so I would do this every day. And I did this for about 5 months. And it started to grow. So we had 100 people on every day.
Nice.
And yeah, it was good. And some of our old music fans would listen. It would be nice how we do it. And if I'd travel, I would bring my computer with me and we'd do it with me. And then Kastuba was also studying the Bhagavatam at the same time I was. So he would sometimes come on mine, and I'd say, oh, my friend Kastuba's here. And I'd introduce Kastuba to everybody. Kastuba, what do you think about this verse? And, you know, since you know me, you know I'm a little loud, I'm a little brash, I'm a little out of control, I scream a lot. And Kastuba is very quiet, soft-spoken, very meticulous in the way he speaks. His thoughts are under control. Nice. His actions are under control. So he's the opposite of me. And so people, he would come on, and I'd just have him unmute, and then we'd both talk. And so he just kept on coming on like that. And everybody would say, oh, my God, I love the way you and Kastuba go back and forth with each other. Yeah. You guys should do this together, make it a podcast. Because if I miss a day, we can't go back and listen to the old days. Right. So we said, okay, let's go out through the end of the year as we're doing it. In January 1st, 2020, we'll start Wisdom of the Sages. And so we started that on January 1st, 2020. And we were all in India with a big training of about 50 people also. And we went through. And then me and Kastuba took about 15 people, small pilgrimage, to Jaipur and Vrindavan. And in Jaipur, I got a text message from Joe Rogan that said, hey, you know, I used to do jiu-jitsu with him. Yeah. So I said, hey, he said, hey, what are you doing? I would love to get you on my podcast. And truthfully, I barely ever listened to any podcast. And when I knew Joe, he was a little famous with some television, but not as popular as he is now. Now he's like
number one.
He could be like the president of the United States, practically. Yeah. So I was like, wasn't quite sure what his angle was. I was like, do you want to debate me? Because when I used to fight with him, I was a vegetarian. I was like a raw foodist vegetarian. And I thought, well, maybe he wants to debate me. And I didn't smoke pot, and he smoked a lot of pot. So I thought, maybe he wants to debate me. I was like, listen, I don't really want to debate about anything. That's not my thing. He goes, no. He goes, I'm serious. Like, yoga's so popular, and I know you have a very interesting yoga journey, and I think it'd be really interesting to hear your story.
Nice.
I said, well, all right. Well, I'm in India right now. He goes, well, when do you get back? I go, I get back in 2 weeks. Well, how about in 3 weeks? I fly you out here. I said, good. All right. I got to check with my family, but that sounds good. And that's how it happened. It happened very quick, like that. But it was Lord Chaitanya's miracle, because if this would have happened 5 weeks earlier, there was no podcast 5 weeks earlier.
Right.
We were only in the podcast maybe, or 8 weeks earlier. We just started the podcast. Meaning, if I got on I had nowhere to usher the people to. Yeah. And so what happened was we saw such a spike in our listenership. After we got on Joe Rogan, so many people got turned onto the Bhagavatam. I have people that listen to us now on the podcast that said, I've listened to you since Joe Rogan and have never missed an episode. A lot of our listeners have never met a devotee. They've never been to a temple. I had one girl come with me to Jagannath Puri. I took a group to Puri last year. And she said, I live in a small village, small town in America. I never met a devotee. I've never been to the temple. She was 22 years old. And the first deity she saw was Tota Gopinath. And she broke down in tears. It was like the most beautiful thing to witness.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it really allowed, and this is the beauty of technology. Everybody wants to slam technology and make fun of technology and criticize technology.
We can use everything.
This is the Brihat Mridanga. You get a clip on Instagram that goes viral. It is in everybody's forget about going to the airport where so many people congregate. You're going into everybody's phone and getting 18,000, 40,000, 60,000, 100,000 views in a moment, giving the Bhagavad Gita and funneling people towards deeper truths. We are living in a time where, I think when I first joined, I thought, well, Lord Chaitanya is going to take over the world. Mm-hmm. How can that happen? The devotees just keep growing. I can see it now. It can happen with 6 influencers becoming very Krishna conscious, getting very inspired and influencing. And you can really see how as this world divides and it's getting more and more pathetic and people are more divisive, people are choosing sides. As people choose sides, they're going to have to choose between love and hate, dark and light, truth and ignorance. They're going to have to make a choice.
Absolutely.
Everything's getting polarized. You're getting people who hate on one side, and they're looking to hate. They're not finding the commonality. They're finding differences. And there's brothers against brothers, families against families. When it's all looks like it's all about to collapse, I have great hope that it's preparing Lord Chaitanya to walk right through that threshold. I'm more inspired to talk about bhakti than I ever have been in my life.
Absolutely. I think it's Krishna's plan.
I think it's Krishna's plan too.
And
it's accelerating.
At one point, I think people, they can choose to be like honeybee or be like a fly.
Yeah.
Because I only seen the news is garbage.
You can't even listen to it.
Read the newspaper.
You don't even know what you're
garbage.
reading.
You don't want to. You don't want. You've become saturated with this garbage.
And you feel
That's
angry.
enough.
You feel like there's somebody to hate. There's nobody to hate.
You feel being used and mistreated by all this news and stuff. So at one point, people.
It makes you think everybody's evil.
Yeah.
And because good people don't sell. Bad people sell. Problematic people sell. Hate sells. And so whether it's Fox News in America or CNN in America, they're selling hate. They're selling an enemy. They're selling a boogeyman, someone you can blame the world on. And it's just not based in reality. People have good inside them.
Absolutely.
You know, even you see in politics, you have a left wing and right wing, and really people just want to do good. I genuinely believe people, for the most part, they want to do good, but they get some people behind them trying to rally them to hate somebody. And so you can't even opt into it. You can't let your mind go there. Keep the, as we say on the podcast, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And that's hearing and chanting about Krishna.
Yeah, but that's why we started Radio Mayapur. So all over the world, people now, we have a lot of people listening to us from morning to night. We have a podcast. We have so that 24-hour bhajan and kirtan,
so nice
lectures. So that hey, you don't want to hear garbage, put Radio Mayapur, and that's it.
Where do I listen to Radio Mayapur?
From your phone.
On podcasts? On podcasts?
No, you can go to all the different platforms: YouTube, podcast, Stitcher, and Google. Just write Radio Mayapur. It comes as an app. It comes as this wonderful. It's an app you don't even need to download. It comes like this, Radio Mayapur.
All right, I'm going to go.
Then people can hear it, you know, wherever they are. We have a lot of people driving car in the West, and they're listening to this.
And I tell you, it really saves people's lives.
Yeah,
it saves people's lives.
The transcendental vibration of the Holy Name is so powerful. The Lord is in His name, and when somebody hears it, even by mistake, even by some other things, you know, they get purified. They become conscious of there is something else.
I believe.
So, what is your future of this podcast? When of course you are having more. You are on the third canto. Which canto you are?
What's that?
You are on the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Third canto? No, we're on the seventh canto.
Seventh canto. Okay.
Seventh canto.
So
where do we go from here? I don't know. The eighth canto.
Now finish the Bhagavatam.
I don't know. I'm not
Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that far ahead, but perhaps. I think Krishna has a plan for it to unfold. We have some ideas.
Okay.
What we're really trying to work together is like an educational platform.
Absolutely.
When I was younger, we would go to Vrindavan and study for a month at the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education. We'd take the whole month off, and then we'd go on pilgrimage. So I think to learn or to teach rather Vaishnav culture, I think is important, because nowadays it's a new paradigm. There aren't people quitting their jobs, quitting their life, quitting their family, and moving into a temple.
No.
I find that to be an old paradigm, and I don't see I don't think it's the future of the way things are going.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a very isolated situation. You get a person becomes a monk when they're an old man, for the most part.
In India, we have a lot of brahmachari, young people, because India is still in a cultural platform is different from the West.
Sure. So I think with where we're going is I think if you can't have that opportunity, because as dysfunctional as some temples were, there was also a lot of benefit we got too. People criticized the temples, but the temples we got a lot living in the temple.
Of course.
Kostuba lived in the temple for about 10 years, I think, or 12 years. I lived in the temple for about 6.5 years. And I really enjoyed it. I really got I felt like I got a lot out of it. And so we want to be able to give people Vaishnav education and
an experience of an ashram with a regulated
No. Well, we're talking about just online studying.
Oh, okay.
Online studying. Although we're thinking about it would be great to have an ashram somewhere as well.
I think Mayapur would be a great place.
Let's do it. Mayapur is incredible.
Mayapur is the best. We can help you. I'm sure that we can find a piece of land, put some bamboo house, let the people come.
We have so many people, and the thing is, they're all professionals. Oftentimes they're professionals. In the old days, how old were you when you joined?
22.
22. I was 22 also. People join when they're 19, 22, 24. Nowadays,
50, 60, 45.
50, 45, 35.
They're professional people.
They're professional people. When you and I joined, people talked about how the material world's a miserable place. But in our minds, if we were young, we were thinking, well, it's not so miserable. It's not so bad. But now we have people that are getting into bhakti when they're 45, when they're 55, and they're thinking, yep, I've been through a marriage. I had a miserable job. I'm in debt from the university. I owe them $250,000. I'm never going to get out of this debt. I've been betrayed. My husband left me. And so I think people have had, when you talk about the pain of material existence, if you're 45, you've seen it. You went through something. Yeah. When you're 22, you could have skated by like, hey, the world's great.
So great. It's
flowery,
beautiful.
So when people hear the Bhagavatam, it rings true at the different seasons of our life.
So we want to teach people how to incorporate higher consciousness into their life. Means be in the material world, but you are in the bubble of your higher consciousness, where you can maintain a mood of goodness, and you can maintain certain principle or etiquette, or you can say something which makes you feel good and makes you feel like you're part of something higher. Sure. It's not just making some money and paying some bills.
Yeah. There's something. I think education's part of the process. Once you appreciate the Vaishnavas, then you're like, okay, I want a systematic way of how to be educated in this, so that I can actually teach it to somebody else also. And so that's what we want to do. We want to break it down and do it into, and this is what sort of we're working on in our next phase as well.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It reminds me about the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there are so many episodes where you think that, how is it possible? These guys are fighting and killing each other in a day, but in the night they're friends. And then it's completely different, different mood. But because the culture was there, how to respect the grandsire, Bhishma Dev, and like they see Arjuna is coming with all the army, he walks with all these things, and he goes there, and then Bhima is thinking, okay, this guy's coming to surrender, and he comes with a weapon, But Sukracharya think, it's my pupil who's coming, and Bhima is thinking, he's coming, and he paid obeisance to them. He said, please give me your blessing that I can defeat you. And he said, if you wouldn't have done that, we would have killed you all. But because you done, Tatastu, you would be successful. You would kill us. So many episodes like this, which is culture. It's the culture of India. It's the culture of the Mahabharata. It's the culture of respect.
It's a beautiful culture, and I think people are cultureless, and they feel it. And they feel like, well, why bother with culture? I mean, just break down all culture. There is no culture. It makes no difference. And we're coming to a world that's really like, they've lost faith in life. And I think, again, Lord Chaitanya, we've created a threshold for, a stage for Lord Chaitanya to step on. And even when I was a punk rocker, I was thinking, what's the point of etiquette? What's the point of morality? What's the point? Why do all these things? Why is this right and this wrong? My mother would say, don't put your elbows on the table when you eat. Why? Who said? It made no sense. And because I wanted substantial answers. But when you study the etiquette and the culture of these ancient cultures, you realize, I get it. It's all to make our mind peaceful. It's all to bring our consciousness higher. It's also we can be connected, grounded.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the first thing that really rang true with me.
Wonderful. So, how you feel in Mayapur? Now you have been spending the last 10 days in Mayapur, and how this has enriched your consciousness or this trip?
We brought about 24 people to Mayapur. It was a great trip. And now everybody's gone except me and Kaustubha and Mara. It's great. It's fantastic. I love it. But it's not like going to Bali or Tulum, Mexico, or Sardinia. You know what I mean? Sometimes people think, well, I saw this on TripAdvisor and it looks like a cool place.
Yeah.
The Dham is different. This is Krishna's home, and therefore there's a weightiness to it.
Sure.
And like when I go to Vrindavan, when I go to Mayapur, I feel a weight about it, a sobriety that comes with it, and I never try not to be too much in the enjoying spirit, because I know that can crush you in holy places. But at the same time, I feel like in that weightiness, there's a very, very powerful purifying agent that goes on. Even though it's tropical and I can get these baby bananas and, it's got the Ganga. And in one sense, you think, well, this is Bali, or this is Mexico, or it's not. This is a spiritual Dham, and if you have your spiritual goggles on, then you're going to be affected in a very, very deep way. Or else you can be here but not enter it. And so my whole time, because we've been doing tons of hearing and chanting while we're here, I feel the weight of it. I feel it like it's speaking to me and pushing me in certain ways. It's not a vacation. I'm going to need a vacation from this. You know what I mean? Do you ever go to India like that and you feel like, I need a vacation from India? But it's not just India, it's these holy places.
I traveled 6 months around the world with His Holiness Banaswami. I'm accompanying him. And we go to Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Indonesia, everywhere, Europe. But I feel like wherever I go, it's a beautiful place. People go vacation, nice. But I feel, because I live here for 45 years, I feel like I always pray to Lord Chaitanya, please bring me back here. Because we are going in a mission of preaching or inspiring, to the people. We go to yoga studio, to temples everywhere. And
wow.
So
you've been living here for 45 years.
Yeah. I did the same trip which His Holiness Raghunath Maharaj did.
Oh, really?
I came by road from Italy all the way to India in 1977. Yes.
Hitchhiked? You're kidding.
Me and my friend Fabio, who is now a great musician and music director. He was here with us 6 months ago.
Wow.
And but
you did that in 77.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So
where did you head? To Rishikesh?
We were heading to Himachal Pradesh. We had one Italian friend who used to live there near Dharamsala, which is the Meklogranj, is the place where the Tibetan what you call the Dalai Lama lives.
Yeah.
So we went there and we spent some time with our friend who lived in a bamboo hut.
I mean, it's so crazy traveling in India back then. It was. You can't even send a letter.
Amazing.
You couldn't even send a letter.
No.
Sending airmail.
No, nothing. Telegram.
You should get a special reward for doing that.
I remember in Mayapur.
Did you get sick?
Of course. I get all the diseases. You can name of it.
Oh, my God.
But to make a phone call to Italy at the time when I was here in
Impossible.
No, from here you had to. There was only one telephone with the temple president, and you had to book the call. Swarupganj 3-1, and then from there they book it to Calcutta, Calcutta to Delhi, Delhi to Rome, and then you wait there 3 hours, and then suddenly you talk, "Hey man, how you doing?" Click, it's gone.
That's it. I remember that in Vrindavan too. There's one telephone. What do they call those? The STD phones.
STD phone, and But, after being living in India for such a long time, everything is a piece of cake, I'm telling you.
Well, technology made it easier.
Technology made it easier, and also the consciousness is like imbibed with Christian bhakti in your heart. And wherever we go, we're trying to be realistic, and we present whatever the audience are able to digest. You become like a doctor, how much medicine people need.
Exactly.
And that's what you're doing also.
Thank you so much. And give us blessings, please.
You're welcome.
We want to.
I want to help you to do this. Whatever you have an idea of creating a place where you people can come and spend a couple of months.
Yeah.
Because this is a changing life situation when people come here. You saw people crying. I see people crying all the time here in Mayapur. There's some, even Indian people, they come in front of Prabhupada and they just they cry.
Right.
And that's because it's something to do with your heart.
I agree.
But it's something to do with your heart. So tell us more what you will do now when you go back to America. And
now I'm getting ready for the launch of my book.
Okay.
So the bands I was in are doing some special reunions.
Okay.
And we'll do like go to bookstores and do autograph signings and promotion for the book.
Where people can buy your book, you can tell the audience.
Easiest is Amazon. Amazon.
Okay. What is the name of the book?
It's called From Punk to Monk.
From Punk to Monk.
By Ray Capo or Ray Raghunath Capo.
Okay. That's nice. I
Thanks.
suggest people should buy this book, and I recommend myself. I recommend.
Well, my goal is that people find their spiritual journey within my journey, and I think that's that I was always attracted to people's story about how they got into their spiritual path and how it transformed them, and usually it's some type of hero's journey where you're struggling, you're in pain, and you're climbing the mountain and you're looking for truth, and you find someone that reveals something and you take it to your life and it transforms you.
Absolutely.
And that's the ongoing story through history. So I enjoy reading books like that.
Yes.
And for me it was very cathartic and a chance for me to really, it was actually a very spiritual experience writing the book, because the more I would reflect on different phases of my life, the more I saw that God was in my life at every moment.
Right?
So many miracles, and sometimes I just wasn't ready for the miracle, and I just turned away from the miracle.
I know.
But it was there, right in front of me.
Amazing. Maybe we should make a film out of it. We have a film crew here, so whenever you
Let's
want.
Let's do it!
You already have the script, which is the book.
You got it all. I've been sitting in the middle of the jungles of Mayapur in this high-tech studio right now. I was wondering where you were leading me. I thought we were going to get some pizza, and I walk into this television studio.
Wonderful talking to you, Raghunath. Okay, give us a message for the radio who are listening to us today. Gil, what is your message to them?
Here's the message. There's only one bird that attacks eagles. They say that's the crow. And the crow jumps on the back, perches on the back, and he starts pecking at the neck of the eagle. The eagle never pays it any mind. The eagle just spreads his wings and starts to soar very, very high. So high that the crow can't take it anymore.
Yes,
And the crow just falls away. And the eagle's just flying. No matter whenever you take something very seriously in your life, your spiritual journey, your contribution, which is what we're all looking for. You know, Mark Twain said, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born, and the second day is when you realize why you were born. And so the eagle never stops to worry about that crow. There's always going to be people trying to cut you down, take you down, peck at you. We don't care. And whether people praise you or peck at you, just be like that eagle and just keep soaring and try your best. And people will always have an opinion, and that's none of your business. People's opinions of me are none of my business.
Absolutely. Is there a problem?
Is there a problem?
We have a mission in life.
We're on a mission for God. We want to serve God and Guru, in the parampara.
Wonderful talking to you, Raghunath.
Thank you, my friend. You keep up the good work. Keep spinning those pizza and making beautiful radio station.
Keep on coming to us.
I will come.
We'll feed you as much as we can.
Okay, I'll keep eating. Don't make me too happy. I won't be able to. I'm getting too old for this. Too much pizza.
Thank you, Raghunath.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Nice.
How is that, Prabhu? How was your new cameras?
This looks good.
So.